Hi, and welcome back to I've Read Byzantine. My name is Quib, and today we're going to talk about the book Manual II Palaiologos to 1350 to 1425, a Byzantine emperor in a time of tumult. So, I just want to make a little disclaimer before we really start. This book, I have read it about a year ago, so I might not be as precise about the information as I would want to, especially because this one I have a little critique, which was kind of a fault of my own, but I still have a little critique I want to say about it. So don't mind me if I'm really wrong about it and you have already read it. Do correct me if you read it and you're watching this video. It is for the benefit of everybody that you correct me. So you can find this book, as usual, on Amazon at 65 and 77 cents in Canadian dollars and about $48 in USD. For a book about 440 pages long. They say 472 pages long. I think it's a bit lesser than that. The annex finish at 435 pages. So I would say that the 70 pages is probably a bit filler and whatnot, like the cover, the back, and whatever in the mist. So yeah, so I think it's a good price, especially for how comprehensive the book is. I will go into that, but yeah, I think it's a good price. The only thing I will say is it's a bit pricey for a book if you're just interested in the period. You really need to be interested into Manuel's history. Right now I'm going to reference Manuel's 2 all the time, so don't mind me. I'm not going to talk about Manuel the first, so if I say Manuel's, it's really Manuel's the second, the subject of this video. So, what's the book about? Well, the book is about an overview of the entire life of Manuel from his early age to his death in 1425. I think it's a really good summary. It covers everything. It even covers more than I knew about it, which is kind of interesting because they say that it's not a Byzantine emperor who has a lot of coverage, even though we have a lot of information. Actually, Siren Çelik. Okay, I'm sorry for the pronunciation. I'm probably completely wrong. But Siren Çelik, she talks about that exactly. We have about 2,000 letters she mentions at the start. And so he's not really covered. I think there could be a lot of reason about it, but it's kind of interesting. It's a good summary. It talks about everything. I have even an example that I really found interesting, how Manuel at some point went to Thessaloniki because he wasn't put as the heir of his father. I don't remember who it was, sorry about that, and he took over Thessaloniki, kind of created his own little Rome state empire affiliated to the capital, so to Constantinople, as a way to, complain to the emperor that you should make me the heir, which was really interesting. He, as I understood it so far, he governed it fairly good, but not as good as he could. Like he antagonized a lot of the Ottomans by capturing Ceres, and then got his butt kicked pretty hard when they stopped concentrating about destroying the Balkan states and came back to him. So it's really fascinating. It's like the book about Constantine, the 11. You really discover more stuff than you thought he would do, and that's all I'm about. That's the books I really love. It's the books that tells everything, but also, you discover new stuff. It's not like, I will tell you what's already known by everybody or common knowledge. It's really comprehensive. That's what I'm saying. Also, about Siren herself, I think she's really knowledgeable in the field, especially Manuel II, since her 2 books are poetries of the Byzantines in general, but in Turkish. I'm not reading that, I'm sorry about that, because I don't know Turkish, but it's also about the literature field of Manuel, his letters, his documents, and all the stuff, his journal and stuff. So yeah, she's more into that sense of studying the history of Manuel II, which is a point I'm gonna come back to, because as far as historical sources goes, they always always come through his letters and literature work. But I have a little caveat with that. So I'm gonna go back to it. I'm just gonna finish my overall review. So yeah, I think the book is really good overall. I think on the subject, as far as I'm aware, it's the best book you can have. It's the most comprehensive, at least. I found most of the time when authors talks about the late Byzantium, they don't talk about specifics, except for maybe Constantine the 11th, maybe Manuel the First and stuff like that. Even Manuel the First, I don't think it's that late. Me, I'm talking more the Renaissance of of the Byzantine state when they came back at the 1261. I think they talk more in a general sense of how they work, because I don't know why actually, but it's more generalistic, you know. So this one is really comprehensive, really good. That's really nice. I would say that though it's not necessarily boring, because the history part are really good. I would say that when the author talks about her field, I would assume the literature, it's a bit more boring on that part. Basically it's not what I was searching, so that's why I would say it's boring. It's still good. I'm pretty sure it's really good at what it's doing. It's just me, at some point, I think after like the 100 pages of the book, I started skipping those part a bit. I didn't like them too much. So yeah. So I would say in the way it's written, it's like it talks about history and context and stuff like that, and then you skip to analyzing letters. So, you know, it's not boring in that sense. It's more like, well, if you're not there for analyzing letters and what he wrote and how he wrote and who he wrote him and what it says about him and his view, it's not that much interesting. If you're more in an overview of his life, his decision and stuff like that, I would put here in the description a bunch of, you know, videos, podcasts that talks about him. Funny enough, Siren Çelik is in most of those. So that's really interesting. She's really like, I think she's really the one who knows everything about this guy, about Manuel II. But yeah, so I think it's not that boring to read. But clearly, you have to choose what you're coming for in this book. You have to like say to yourself, "I'm coming for this, and I'm not coming for a general story." You need to know what you're going yourself into. And that comes back to my only critique about this book. My really only critique about this book, because in general, it's a fairly good book about his life. There's nothing much more to say to me and to what I remember fairly right now. But my real critique is, holy schnoot, I should have known what this book was about. Basically, my process in this is I went to Amazon. I saw the book. I was like, oh, that's fairly new, so that's interesting. I read the synopsis at the start. Well, that's good. It's general story of his life. That's interesting. Bought the book. You know, a bit expensive. Didn't care. Bought the book, you know. Then I started reading the book. And then you discover that what she mostly talks about is like the literature. Like you will have example, you start the book, it's context, it's the word of the author, you know, fairly basic stuff, I guess. Then she talks about his life and you're like, oh, that's interesting. And then she talks like for 25 pages about literature. And I'm like, okay. So I continue. Okay, back to the action, back to his history. And then you read and it's like, 10 pages of like history. That's good. That's fun. Back to literature. And I'm like, what the hell did I buy? That's my fault. Okay, I will say this right now. That's entirely my fault. I should have read more like into it to what I was going to buy. And yeah, my fault, right? But it's kind of not what I was looking for, and it really destroyed the flow of learning about him, because you learn about how he writes and how Noble writes, to whom he's writing and stuff like that. It destroys a bit the flow about his life and history. I would say that the title, it's not like Manual II Palaiologos, a Byzantine emperor in time of tumult, literature analysis of his life, which could have been more fair to what it's talking about. No, it's like a generic name for, like, example, the Immortal Empire, the story of, like, Constantine the 11th. I was assuming this. Well, fair enough. It's not that. I still read the book, but I skipped a bunch, especially on those part, because it started to annoy me. It really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a comprehensive analysis of his story, and, like, with him, through his writing, that's good. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it good. It's really good on that part. If you're looking in something more general, like I said, you should go to videos, because it's kind of fairly expensive for a book. Also, in this economy, it's fairly expensive. And also, it's not necessarily just about the story. It's about other stuff. So you just be careful to what you're going into. That's the main critique I have. Is just be aware that it is a literature analysis, and more of a literature analysis, actually, than, like, a history about the guy. You will learn everything you need to learn about this guy, about Manuel II, but it is more through his analysis. And I mostly made a mistake, and then I discovered that I made a mistake, and I'm like, oh, god damn it, it's not as great as I thought. So yeah, at the end, I'm repeating myself, right? I'm gonna repeat it myself anyway. Good book. I liked it. The critique is, I didn't know what I was buying, I guess, and that kind of broke the flow of what I liked about it. So yeah, still a great book. I think if you're looking for exactly what's providing, read the synopsis to know what you want to read. But if you want to read that, the best. Clearly, like, it's not even a fight. She's probably the best person who knows about Manuel II in, like, every sources. She kind of looks like she read everything in multiple language. Amazing, I respect the hell of that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I have to do the boring stuff, but subscribe and like and whatever. If you want to comment. I know I'm not really there. My last video was the start of my university. Now I'm in the 2-week break, and I want to go back to doing a bit of a video. So I'm gonna do books I've read since a long time. Right now, I'm reading, like, the social justification in late Byzantium, which is really fascinating. As soon as that's done, I'm probably gonna do a video about it. It's really good. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So see you soon.